Alrighty. Hi, everybody. My name is Alex Bingham. I am the president of Find the Light Foundation. And today I am here with Kathryn Byrd, who is running for school board in the Fort Zumwalt School District. Thank you for joining us for our third year in a row of candidate town halls for the Fort Zumwalt School Board. Before we get into introductions, I just want to give a quick rundown of how tonight is going to work. So right now we are with obviously Kathryn, and at 7:30 we will be with Erica Powers. Both of the candidates have been given the same questions. We will not go in a specific order, but they do have all of the questions to make sure everybody knows what's going on. These questions were taken from parents, students, teachers, and community members who are invested in this election. We have not written any of these questions. None of them represent the views of Find the Light Foundation. And we are not endorsing any candidates. Every candidate was contacted with the opportunity to participate in a town hall. Our function here is just to ask your questions to the candidates. So with that, I will let Kat introduce herself.
Thank you, Alex. So yes, I'm Kathryn Byrd. I am a parent here in the district. I have 3 children. I am the vice president of the PTO of our elementary school. And I've been participating with Board of Education meetings for about a year, working with parents and teachers and students and admins, and just working toward finding a way to help make our district the best it can be for all of our students. Sorry, it's so weird talking to an empty room. Put my phone. Yes, I'm looking to help our school, help repair and build those connections stronger, help the communication process across the district, and make sure our district is serving all our students. And we have a wonderful mission statement. I want to make sure that it's true for every single student in our district.
Fantastic. Are you a parent of district students?
Yes, 3 district students, and it's been a wonderful experience. But through the work that I've been doing, I'm learning that, parents from other from other schools, we're having kind of different stories. And it's like, whoa, what's going on? We are an amazing district, and I want to make sure we're an amazing district at every single school. Let's look for opportunities where we can kind of bridge any gaps that we need to, and make sure that everyone's able to participate and communicate, and be heard. And that's what I'm hoping to do. That's what I'm working to do. We are doing it right now, and I just want to help continue that process.
Fantastic. So we'll go ahead and jump into some questions because we want to keep this right at an hour. And as we go, I do have the Facebook live stream open. So if there are any comments with questions, anyone watching, feel free to comment any questions you have for Kat or Erica when she gets here, and we will ask them as we go. So Kat, obviously this year especially, there's a lot of different issues that are at the forefront. Every year it seems like there's one big issue. One of the important issues this year is on so-called book banning. Not everyone calls it that. This question that was submitted from a district parent is, what is your position on book banning?
I am against book banning. I do not believe that we should be keeping knowledge from individuals. Now, I certainly understand that, there's certain levels, and we want parents to we want parents to have a voice in this process and have a voice about their own students and everything. But in regards to completely banning them outside of or from schools completely, no, that's certainly not. That's something I'm against. I'm not for that.
Is there any room for compromise with people who think that there is certain material that shouldn't be acceptable in our school libraries?
So there's always room for compromise. I should say there's usually room for compromise. And certainly you have to have two parties that are willing to compromise at a table. And when you're bringing people together, you need to be able to have those difficult conversations and look for the win-wins in the situation. But I think the important thing is we can't take from all students because one parent or a small group of parents has a concern. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. That makes
So,
sense. All right. And all right, so the next question we're going to go for is again from a parent that says, how are you going to advocate for and support special education and related service providers in the district?
that is an excellent question. And again, where another area where I think we need to do some repairs, some communications. So I've certainly heard stories and talked to some families who have had a difficult time getting services, or and we're having a difficult time right now just because of the staffing issues with certain positions where, normally they would have a certain person or something or certain help, and then we simply don't, like as a district, we don't have people. Sorry, I have littles in the house, so if that door opens, you're gonna have to forgive me. I hear her right outside. I don't know if you can.
We can't, but you know what? That's one. We all can see you're a parent, so it works out.
But yes, so I want to open that communication. Sweetie, I'm in a meeting. You can't come in, and my dog is coming in too. Okay, so we're just gonna have my dog here. This is Shadow. He's a Great Dane. And he's very lovable. Okay, go get down, boy. I know. Okay, sorry. Let me get him back outside because he will just keep doing this as I talk. Hold on.
Absolutely.
Outside. Go outside. Come on. So sorry.
Don't worry, I'm sure that is very relatable for a lot of the parents.
Yeah, because the little one opened the door, right? Because the dog can't open the door, but then she knew to not come in, but the dog got it. So anywho, yes, but I want to build those connections. I would like to, if we can support those parents, if we can provide, parent to parent support, because I'm telling you, once you get into that, you learn so much, and there's so much information that you just have to take in, and there's a lot of opportunity there, I think, and it's all going to be communication, building connections, getting people together, and figuring out exactly what they need and how we can help.
All right, absolutely. This next question is from another parent. How will you manage conflict within the board?
Yes, conflict. Well, again, everyone, we need to be able to find that common ground, and we need to be able to work toward that common goal. The common goal is for success for our students, to build a better district, to be able to support our teachers. These are the common things that we want to do, and so we just need to find the best way to get there. Sharing different ideas, being open to different suggestions, giving some explanations, reasons behind it, sharing stories, and again, just building those connections. Everyone needs to be included in this and feel heard and feel like they had a say. So I don't think it's right to come in and just completely bulldoze over everything. We need to include people in this process. It's all of us, all of our children are being affected by this. So I think everyone needs to be included in it.
Absolutely. I think anything in local government, but especially school boards, benefit a lot from knowing that everyone is there because they want the best for the kids, the teachers, and everyone else who is involved. So I'm sure there's a lot of spots for common ground.
Exactly. And that's what you look for, and you figure out how to make the best out of what you can, the issue that you're working on right there.
Absolutely. This next question is from a teacher. How are you going to support teacher salaries being more aligned with other districts to keep experienced staff who have worked for the district long-term?
We have a lot of space, a lot of area for opportunity with that. Honestly, I don't have a background in school finance. I've never, my background, I do unemployment and psychology, and it's a totally different type of world. So I would need to work with other people. I would need to talk to experts. I would need to talk with others and figure out where can we do this. And possibly even talk to people, look at other school districts that have done this successfully. What have they done? Where have they had success? And so, just kind of, again, looking at those different options, different possibilities, what's going to fix us or help us the best, fix our match our situation the best. When we have, again, that's because, helping and supporting teachers in that way is certainly a common theme that lots of districts want.
Absolutely. This next question is, aside from the business aspects of how the district is run, what types of ideas do you have to help students in the Fort Zumwalt School District be successful and well-rounded by the time they graduate high school?
Oh, so beside the business aspects, so what can we do to help students be well-rounded for or for life outside? So there's a whole lot to learn to be, really ready out there. And of course, there are some things that you're going to learn from parents, and there are some things that you're going to learn from schools. But I think it's also important to remember that not every single student has someone at home telling them everything, explaining everything to them. So while not every student may need that additional regular, like just adult life type of, how to open a bank account type of like basic adult type of knowledge, that can be tricky, and maybe they just don't have someone at home, and we certainly do not want to leave them behind. So I would be in favor of different offering different levels, if that makes sense. Hopefully, if that makes sense. Because not everyone needs that, not everyone wants that. And hey, that's perfectly fine. We are certainly not here to force other things on anyone. Maybe someone is against a regular bank account and they want something else. By all means, that's certainly up to you. We just want to make sure that students have the information available to them that they need in order to be successful on a wide range of areas.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. What I'm hearing there is that while we need to have educational standards that are consistent, we also need to tailor individual education plans for each student because everybody's different.
Yes, Alex, thank you. Yes, exactly. If again, if they don't need it, hey, by all means. But if they do, I certainly want to make sure that that's available. Meet them where they're at.
All right. This next question is one of our, we have a few questions in here that were submitted that can be a little bit more controversial. So this next question was submitted by a parent, and it says, the American Medical Association, Academy of Pediatrics, and the CDC all recommend evidence-based and comprehensive sex education programs be offered to students. Will you, as an elected board member, address the need for comprehensive sexual education?
That is certainly a big question. That really, really is. And I certainly understand where that parent is coming from. At the same time, I am respectful and mindful of I know that there are other parents out there, that feel like they do not want a full comprehensive everything out there at the table from the school because they want to be the ones having that conversation with the student. I think this is the type of topic that we really need to make sure we have that partnership with our parents and our community strong, that everyone is getting input on this topic, that we cannot just bulldoze through with this. This is a really sensitive topic. At the same time, I certainly understand the need to make sure that our students are educated and are aware of their bodies. I mean, that's what it is, and their rights to their bodies, right? So this is certainly an area that I think we would need to have discussions on. That while I realize, while I feel a way personally, when I am serving on that board of education, it's not just about me, it's about all the parents and families in our district. And I would not be doing a service to that role if I just came in and didn't listen or consider to anyone else. Does that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so this would be something we would need to talk about. We would need to have some discussions. We would need to really get in and get input before anything. But I do think that there's opportunity there because you know, especially with if these young people are going off to universities, we certainly know some of the risks that are on those campuses, right? So we want to make sure that our students from Fort Zumwalt are walking in with some awareness, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
All right, so the next couple questions are going to go together. The first is, how do you plan on using your position to advocate for students?
we got to talk to them. We need to communicate, right? You got to build a connection. And so luckily, so one of the things that I was working with the board we just finished was that diversity and awareness committee, and we had students on there, and I absolutely loved the input that the students were able to have. And so I would really love to have to see more committees like that where we can have input from students, not just on committees like that, but communicate, build some more communication with them.
Absolutely.
There's so much that we can learn from, you know, what's going on from their perspective, because and they're the ones that we're trying to reach, right? So I think it's good to have those check-ins and make sure that what we're trying to do is making a difference, is doing something, is being received in some way.
Absolutely. Yeah, and on that, I'll chime in for just a second. Find the Light is a group that was founded and exists to give students a voice in their school districts, especially when it comes to their mental health. So we are very firm for all of the Board of Ed candidates and the people currently serving on the Board of Education that we believe that you cannot make decisions about student well-being without considering those students' voices.
Yes, indeed. Absolutely. Yes.
And like I said, this next question goes with the previous one. How do you plan on using your position to advocate for teachers?
Same thing. We need to be able to communicate. We need to have that level that we're checking in, because the policies we're doing, you know, are affecting their classrooms, and they're the ones that are going to see it firsthand. How is this working? How is this, you know, how is this making a difference? Are my students engaging with this? Or is this just completely out of touch and it's not working at all? It's a total waste of time and money. Maybe we need to cut this sooner than later, type of thing, you know? So especially with new things, but, you know, just regular check-in, what's working well, what isn't working well, what should we continue, what should we stop, what should we add? These are, you know, just regular kind of check-in things that I think we really need to have with you know, across the district.
Definitely, absolutely. This next question is, what do you think it means to work towards an equitable education experience for our students? And is this something that you hope to achieve?
Absolutely. So again, you know, when I was talking about one of the other questions, everyone's coming from a different place, right? We're all unique individuals. We all have a different set of needs, and when we're trying to support our students, I think, yes, we absolutely need to challenge those that are absolutely excelling and, you know, going off the charts, and yes, let's keep challenging them so they keep thriving, right? But at the same time, if we notice that there are some that might need some additional support, some additional something, then let's see what we can do to help that, so that we can get them up to a level so they can start getting some of that success, you know, as well, if that makes sense. So I think that, you know, we have some things in place, but there's, again, room for more, but we need to build those connections again, so we can understand exactly where it is that we need to find some more help.
All right. And just bouncing off of that question, what does equity in the classroom mean to you?
So equity in the classroom is when we're all able to achieve, right? Like, it's not outside of our grasp. So it's not that we're stopping anyone or we're saying this is what the level is, and once you're here, okay, that, you know, we're not pushing any further. It's nothing like that. It's more of a, we're trying to support, we're trying to help to get to get students to be able to have a chance in the same classroom, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense.
Okay.
This next question is from a parent. There have also been a lot of concerns about limited supports available for our Black and Brown students. What do you think should be done to address diversity and inclusion?
So again, this is certainly an area that I've been talking about. So as I said, I served on the district's diversity and awareness committee. That it was I could look at my notebook, but I don't want to stop. I don't know exactly when it started. It started in the beginning of the school year, but we just had our last meeting this month, and our findings, our recommendations will be presented to the board at the next board meeting in April for the current board to be able to vote on. And so we have lots of things. I don't want to give it away exactly, but there are things in the works already. And again, lots of opportunity there. I completely understand. Like, let me step back. I can't say I completely understand. I'm not a Black or brown person, clearly. I'm a white person. So I'm certainly not in that same wheelhouse, but I am married to a Black man. I do have biracial children. We have had some things that's kind of like, whoa, hey, and then, as I said, I've, worked with other parents, and I'm hearing other stories, and it's like, whoa, wait a second. So where ours was just kind of like, the other situations are much more concerning, and they're happening in different areas in the school. And these are some areas that we need to make sure that we're doing right by all of our students, so that's there is stuff in the works coming from the diversity committee that we just had. And I'm certainly looking to help continue that process. And that committee, I should say, that committee comprised of students, parents, teachers, administrators, and professionals from the community. So we had lots of different groups represented in this, and it was open to everyone in the district, community members in the district. It was, I don't know if you ever saw the things on the app. I feel like this is a commercial for the app now, but it was on the app.
Well, so going off of that, as you said, you served on the Diversity and Inclusion Committee. I believe you helped push for that committee to be founded. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
As with your service on that committee and as the mother of a parent of biracial children, are there any experiences that you will bring to your work on the Board of Education if you're elected? Or how will that inform your work?
Oh, definitely. I mean, so I'm very mindful of my children and their stories. These are their stories, right? So I have not talked to her about sharing this, so I'm not going to. But there have been times where I have comforted my own child for feeling different and not allowed to be different, as if it was wrong. And that's different. It's different. So that is an experience that I have. And like I said, I am not a Black or brown parent, so I certainly am not there, but I love my children that are biracial, as much as I know that every single parent loves their children. And when you send a child into the world that's not white, sometimes different things happen. And so I have that experience. And I'm going to believe those experiences when they're told to me. I'm not going to sit there and question, well, was it real? No, that's not the time or the place. It's not appropriate. It's not, no. So, but at the same time, just telling those stories is an emotional burden. So I completely understand not wanting to go through that again and again just for it to fall on deaf ears. And unfortunately, I don't believe the district has a history of necessarily responding to these very well. And it's just an area that we can really improve. And like I said, with it, I'm very excited about the work that we've done on that diversity and awareness committee already. And so I do, sorry, something, you can hear me, right? Just say
Yes.
something. Okay, like something popped up on my screen. Sorry, I'm on my phone. So it was,
You're good. We can still hear you.
Okay. So yeah, so I feel very good about the work that we've already done with like these recommendations. I'm very excited to hope to see these recommendations go into practice. But there is definitely work to be done, and we need to rebuild those connections. We need to be having these difficult conversations. They are difficult conversations, but having these conversations are going to make our district better. They will, for all of our students. So, because we live in a diverse world, right? Like,
yeah.
And that's what we're preparing them for, is a diverse world. So we need to be able to interact and respect and value every single person that we come into contact with.
Yeah, I really appreciate that answer. You can definitely tell the passion that you have.
I probably can't be long-winded. Sorry, I don't know where we are.
That is okay. So this next question, I got so wrapped up in your answer, I didn't even look at what the next question is going to be. Let's say our next question is from a parent, and it is, what do you think is the main role of the BOE, of the Board of Education?
So the Board of Education has a few main things, of course. So they are in charge of, this is the first, when you look it up, the hiring and firing of superintendents. And the superintendents are in charge of the daily running of the district. So I don't know if you guys know, we have a huge admin team up at the district office. They do so much. They handle so much of the day-to-day of the running of the district. So the Board of Education would be overseeing that in that regard. So we're not having office meetings. You just are overseeing the superintendent. That's that regard. But then you're reviewing the policies. You're making sure that you're staying in legal with the state. You're staying within the sorry, I'm not prepared for this question. I'm just going off my memory here. So you're making sure that you're within the state's, it's not guidelines, because they're definitely like laws. Is it just laws? Is that the word? They're mandates. This what the government is saying we must do. We have to make sure that we're legal within that. And we're looking always for opportunities to be able to improve. And with the district, with the school, you're very in touch, you're very connected to that community. So I, am looking to rebuild that aspect of it and really get back into touch with everyone in our community, and being able to bring everyone to the table so that we can build our district to be the best it can be for all of our students.
Absolutely. I think everybody is on board with that. This next question is important. So obviously Find the Light is a mental health advocacy group. And this question says, many kids suffer with mental health issues, and educating in the classroom has been a challenge for teachers. What can the school district do to support our teachers going forward to make sure they have the training, knowledge, help, and tools to work with kids with all different types of needs? So this
Yeah.
question, a lot of the times we're talking about it from the student's perspective, especially for our purposes. I'm really interested to hear how you would support teachers in helping those students.
So I love this question as well, because teachers are people too. They really are. And as people, they have those same needs, right? They have the same needs for the be able to take a break and things of that sort. And so something that I know that I've heard a lot is teachers losing their break times, their planning times, because of all the shortages that's happening. And so we really have to address that to make sure that teachers are able to get those breaks throughout the day as needed. I would really love to see more support. I don't know, and I meant to go back and rewatch the Board of Education meeting to hear exactly what it was, but at this last meeting, they just approved crisis counselors for the schools to be able to hire. So I am just so excited, because I feel like being able to have that, I hate to call a person a resource, but that person to, trained professional to be able to call in to help a student in need, that is going to be able, not to say that the teacher can take their hands off, but there's not so much more pressure that they are the one who has to do it all, right? Because they have an entire class still and all of the other things that they have to do. If they can pull in an entire person that is trained in that to be able to get assistance in that, and more training, like you said, but to be able to identify, to have some tools, some things in the back to just pull out to be able to help in an emergency situation, until we can get that same crisis counselor, that I'm so excited that we finally, because I can't remember exactly if it's in every single school or if there's, and I know that they said they're going to try to do it in 1 year, but it might take a couple years because they want them to be certified as well. So I'm sorry. I encourage everyone to go watch that Board of Education meeting. There's really, the Board of Education meetings, there's so much knowledge in them. They're really wonderful to watch, but I'm really excited about that. And I know that there's unfortunately, I had to kind of choose because they also had the bullying committee running at the same time. And so I'm interested to see what those recommendations are, which will be coming in April. I don't know what they are yet, but I am hoping, so that's more on the student side. But for the teachers, I'm not a district employee, so I don't have access. I don't know exactly what they have right now, but I do know, like, my employer offers certain services, and that's something that I would really be interested in, to see what type of services we offer to our teachers at free cost would certainly be ideal, seeing as they're teachers. But I certainly want to look into that and see what do we have outside of work hours where they would be able to access and get anything that they might need.
Absolutely. So this next question is actually from a student, and it reads, I'm frustrated because I hate the school lunch choices except the frozen strawberries. I don't know how to get a message to somebody who can change it. What would you do to make it easier for students to communicate their frustrations?
This is a perfect example of why we need to be able to communicate with our students. Like, that could be something that's an easy fix, but he doesn't even know where to go with the question or the request, right? I think we really have got to look at how we're taking those concerns, because at this point, I don't know of any type of central, like, this is, for a request at this school or for a request with this is where you would send it. I don't think we have anything like that at all. And knowing where to go is certainly half of the battle, right? So I think that's something that we could make available, whether that's a list that says know where to go and figure out which emails to send with which type of request, if that's what we have, or do we create a centralized location and then we have someone that divvies out where does this need to go? But we certainly need to build something so people know, everyone knows, students, teachers, parents, everyone has a safe place where they can report their concerns.
Yeah.
So because I don't think they, short of going to the Board of Education or I guess talking to their specific head of the dining food nutrition of their school, but that is probably a district, like ordering is probably more of a district level. So yeah, we certainly need to it's certainly another area of improvement, isn't it?
So this next question I have is, many candidates in Board of Education elections seem to be responding to fears that schools are trying to undermine parents. What are your thoughts on the role of schools in students' lives in areas that are not strictly academic, and how do you think parents' fears can be calmed?
Okay. That is a great question. I really think we need to pull people into the communication, to the conversations. I think everyone deserves to be heard. Everyone, we need to be involved in the solution process. So I don't think Board of Educations are trying to overtake parents, because I'm a parent. So it's hard, because it's like one and the same to me. Because I know we have a lot of parents on our Board of Education. And if they're not current parents, they had students, that graduated. And so, but I'm not here to tell anyone they can't feel any type of way. What I would say is I invite you to the table. I invite you to have the conversation, to be involved in the process, and to share your thoughts, and to hear the reasons why we're making some of the decisions that we are, if that makes sense, because like that's one of the good parts I like about the Board of Education meetings, is we get to hear a lot of the questions that board members have for people when they're presenting stuff. So that's really.
Yeah, and for any parents that are listening, I will say, in my experience, we have found the board members in across multiple different terms, not just the ones who are there now, to be pretty receptive when we bring them concerns, and especially when parents are bringing them concerns. So this next question is another diversity question. And so just for anybody who submitted questions and hasn't heard theirs, some are on very similar topics or the same topic. And in that instance, we have tried to combine questions, or if they're asking the same thing, we will just read one question about it. So we had multiple questions about LGBTQ supports. This first question is, what is your stance on LGBTQ supports at our schools in the form of gay straight alliance clubs and assistance for students who are transitioning?
That is another very good question. So part of our mission statement is, that everyone is going to feel, or is going to, have that safe learning environment. We want our students to feel welcomed and valued. When you start banning clubs and things of that sort, you're really not valuing them as people, right? That they exist. So I do not think that is the way to go. I think that these students need our support, however we can possibly give it. And the second part was supporting students that are transitioning.
Yes.
Right. So when it comes to that, I think that it would be beneficial to have some clear guidelines, so that, again, at every school in our district, that is handled the same way. So, if we get notification, this student is transitioning, these are their preferred pronouns, this is their preferred name, how quickly can we, and this is a challenge to us as a district, how quickly can we make these changes that have been requested? How quickly can we start calling this student by their preferred name? So that they can feel comfortable and welcomed and safe and valued in their learning environment, so they can take in that information that we're trying to teach them, right? Because if they're if they're trying to survive in survival mode because of the danger, they feel that danger of their environment, they can't take in any information because they're, in in a reclusive state, if that, you're a survival state, you can't learn anything. You can't do what we're supposed to be doing at school. And so that is certainly something that I think we really need to look at, because I don't believe we have anything like that right now. And I've heard of there being challenges in some of our schools with that. And I've, heard stories of, I don't, not necessarily in our district, but I've heard of stories of students accidentally being outed because the attendance thing wasn't correct and they had a substitute teacher. And so the substitute teacher called out the wrong name because they didn't know. And now that student's life, we can't do that to our students. We need to do everything we can to make sure we're providing that safe and welcoming environment for our students. Yeah. I hope that answers the question.
I think you did. And actually, I think you answered a couple more questions that people had submitted about those topics as well. So I have one more question that is related to that. And that is, what will you do if you're elected to address harassment, bullying, and intimidation?
So again, that I know that this is an issue in our district. Earlier in the process, I was able to work with the people that are focused more on the bullying aspect of it. Whereas, like I said, I went with the diversity and awareness committee. There is a bullying committee. So I don't want to step on their toes and try to reinvent anything. I would love to see what their recommendations are. But additionally, I think we need to have open communication. We need to have, honestly, I dare say what do you call it? Escalation process, because I don't want any parent to ever feel powerless in being able to get their child help, so, and as you know, with Finding Light, because I know that you guys, this is your area, we've lost students. One student's too many. And absolutely anything we as a district can do to provide that safe, welcoming, valued environment, that's what we want for every single student, every single one. So that is certainly an area of, and that escalation process that I talked about for the reporting, some oversight, right? Because we certainly want to be able to make sure that there's follow through, that needs are being met, that what we say we're going to do, we are doing. That's another big area, and it's a very important area because, again, one student is too many. And I think we certainly have areas of opportunity there as well.
Definitely. I think everyone agrees with that. This next question is just going to change directions a little bit. What is your stance on school choice? Obviously, that's been in the news for the last year or two, and so I'm sure lots of people are interested.
And that is when you're choosing, because you're spending, so like the tax dollars are going to the private sector. And that is just, I'm very against it. We need to strengthen our public education. We need an educated workforce, an educated society that is and also our public education provides education for all of our students, right? They don't pick. So I'm very much against sending those tax dollars to private schools.
Okay. And this next question, and we're going to go for about another 5 minutes, and then I'm going to let you deliver your message to the people you want to vote for you. So I've just got a few more questions. This next question, I'm sorry, I completely lost it, is what do you think makes you a better candidate than the other candidates running for the school board?
I would say that I'm better fitted for this position because I've been working with the district. I've been working with a lot of these individuals already. I'm already engaged in a lot of different groups and building these connections, having these conversations, and I really want to continue that. And I have a background in organizational psychology. I have a background in, active listening and, and I truly, genuinely want what's best for our students. And I think the best way to get that is by working together. Because when we work together, we can come up with very unique solutions. We all have different strengths that we bring, different ways of thinking that we bring to the table. And by working together and using all those, we can certainly come up with better solutions than any of us would have came up with on our own.
All right. This next question is obviously very important to me as someone who works with Find the Light Foundation. And that is, what plans do you have regarding student mental health in the future? And I believe this was submitted by an alumni.
So again, that I know that they just hired not hired, but approved the ability to hire, I guess, the crisis counselors, and the bullying committee is going to present their findings from their committee made up again of parents, teachers, students, and administrators. And I believe they also have professionals from the community as well. And so present their findings. So again, listen to the people that have already been working on it. Step one, consider them. And I think as we build that connection with the students and open that communication line, we are going to have a better understanding of what they need. And so I think, honestly, you can't just see there's a car accident and no, I'm going to need 52 Band-Aids. You got to get an idea of exactly what those needs are in there before you can start trying to have real clear solutions. So I guess the first step's listening to understand, seeking to understand.
And when you say that, I just want to clarify, is there a way that you can make that listening more intentional? Are you hoping that people will bring concerns to you, or do you have any ideas for proactively seeking out that feedback?
Oh, I certainly would really like to proactively seek out that feedback, whether that's in the form of another survey, or if we're doing another group. I want to say, I think they're called affinity groups, where we're because it's a continuous effort. It's not like you can say, oh, we took care of mental health. No, it doesn't work like that. Every single day we have these new stressors. Every single day. I mean, who would have thought that, I'm not even going to say the name, but something that happened in 2020 would have done all of that. You know what I mean? Like, we have to be in touch and be able to be responsive to what the needs are. And before we just go in and say, this will fix it.
Yeah, especially, I think everyone is aware that especially young students, young people now have a lot of trauma coming out of COVID, like everyone does, really. So obviously, the more we can learn about that, the more informed we can make our interventions.
Yes.
So this next question says, how do you plan on using your position to influence decisions about what is truly best for kids and young adults, and listen to those who are in the trenches every day?
So I kind of feel like that's a two-parter, because listening to the people that are in the trenches every day, I feel like that's the students, the teachers, the parents, right? Because they're the ones that are They're the ones that are in the classroom putting our policies and ideas and everything in action. The parents are the ones that, hate to bring it up, parents, but we're the ones dealing with those AMI packs that are trying to get through and figure out how do we pay the lunch balance, or how do I see what book they checked out, or whatever the case is. So that's what sorry, I totally lost my train of thought.
Okay. That's okay. We've been talking for a while.
So but yeah, I just want to build those connections back, and to get, you have to be able to listen. That's what I think I was going with. You got to listen to the parents, listen to the teachers, listen to those people that are in the trenches. That's where it was, to figure out even what those needs are, because it's silly to think that fourth grade math would be so hard, but it is. And so, like I mentioned at the, I know I mentioned it on my Facebook page, but real quick story, like I mentioned that in one of the meetings with the admins about how those math, because the style that they do math is different, right? Than when I'm not sure when you graduated, but when I graduated, it's a different style altogether. In fourth grade, they're doing multiplication and stuff, so they got boxes and lines and dots and everything else. And sometimes, well, no, never. I never want to go against, the style that they're trying to learn and mess anything up. But sometimes I need to access, how is this even supposed to look? So I talked with the admins about, because they're going to know which AMI pack is going to have which type of, like, what type of math problems. And so when they send home that email, could they just go ahead and say, and oh, by the way, here's the link to that type of math style. You know what I'm trying to say? The style, do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah, a lot of educational material has changed very quickly in the last few years. And so I know even when I was in school, there came a point where my parents couldn't help me with math because they were just taught it completely differently.
Yes. So I am going through the process of relearning the style of doing math in an attempt to keep up with my fourth grader. As she's going through a learning, I'm learning as well. But and I completely understand not every parent is able to do that, but you still have to get this AMI pack done, right? So let's make this easy, right? But we need to figure out what is needed with that communication before we can work on how to meet that need. And that was a simple thing. He was like, yeah, he wrote it down. We haven't had an AMI day since then. So I'm very, well, I don't want late snow. We garden, so that would be bad. But next year, I'm eager to see, because we've already started. I don't want to freeze them. But next year, I'm very eager to see how is that going to look, and how, because I think that would be a benefit to me, at least, to have that help right there. And we don't have to stop at math. We could do science. We could do all of it, just a little helpful guide for parents based on, we have the information. So how can we help? That really, I think, how can we help? That's what.
Yeah, that's an angle I haven't heard before, so I appreciate that. This last question was actually the question we saved for last year when we did these as well, but it was such a good question that we decided to do it again. What steps will you take to unite our school community after several years of division?
That is a good question. And I keep saying we need to rebuild those connections. I've been having talks and meetings, with people. I don't think even before the campaigning, I would talk to people. I've been talking. So like as a PTO member, I've talked to other PTOs of different elementary schools. We're learning just different ideas, different methods to do things, different organizations to work with. And there's a lot of value when you pull together, right? There's so much that comes from that. So I think the more as we start doing it, the more we're gonna want to do it. So I think it's just looking for those opportunities to pull us together. I think I would love to get the Board of Education meetings, out there that so people can know about them. And I know I've offered before to sit, with people, but I would love to see groups come together and sit together and, just get a feel for what that is, because this is a partnership. We're all in this together. It's our students, our children, our community, our schools. And so I think that, even just knowing that you have a listening ear can sometimes make a difference too, and wanting to go and engage in those conversations, because again, some of these conversations are emotionally heavy. If your little one is having a hard time even going to school in the morning, and that's a big heavy concern on your heart, that could be a difficult conversation to even want to have. So you don't want to go have it with someone that you think isn't even gonna give you the time of day.
All right, well, that is all the time we have. So why don't you just give us your end of town hall speech? Why should people vote for you?
Oh, well, first, I thank you so much for having this. I hope people know I really want to bring us together. I really want to work to build a better district for all of our students. I have already been doing a lot of the work, building or starting some of these connections, but we have so much area that we can go. So I just really want to help further that along, help to support the teachers, have those quicker check-ins so we can make sure that we're checking in on how things are going in the classrooms, and just really rebuild and reconnect everyone so that we're all working toward bettering our district.
All right. Well, thank you again for being here, Kat, and answering all of these questions. Thank you to everybody who submitted questions. The election is on April 4th, and voters will be choosing among 7 members for 3 spots. So don't forget to vote. All of the information anyone needs is on the Fort Zumwalt website. And I encourage everyone to learn about the candidates, reach out. Many of them have social media pages that you can access or websites, and just be informed and get out and vote. Everyone stick around, and Erica Powers will be with us in just a minute. But Kat, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Alex. I wanted to add one more thing. So yes, you can vote April 4th, but you can also do early voting with a no excuse early voting. As long as you have your ID, you can go in person and do that as well. So if you have a busy Tuesday or you're afraid, how am I going to fit this in? It's okay. You can go vote early at, I believe it's at the Election Authority. It's on my site, the website or the address. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Those were excellent questions.
Thank you. And good luck.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. All right, and we're going to add Erica Powers, and we'll keep going.